Here's something strange. Ask almost anyone if they're a good person, and they'll say yes. Even people who lie, cheat, hurt others, or cut corners at someone else's expense, they still believe they're good. So either most of the world is lying to themselves, or something else is going on. Something quieter. Something that doesn't change what people do. It changes how they explain it to themselves. Psychologists have a name for this. I call it moral diversion. And once you see it, you'll notice it everywhere. In the news, in your group chats, and honestly, in your own head too. Moral diversion isn't about becoming a worse person. It's about protecting the story you tell about yourself. Here's the key idea. The brain hates the feeling of, I did something wrong. That feeling is really uncomfortable. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance. The tension between, I'm a good person, and I just did a bad thing. Something has to give. And most of the time, it's not the behavior that changes. It's the explanation. So instead of fixing the action, the mind quietly edits the meaning of it. Not lying exactly, more like redecorating the truth so it's easier to live in. There are a handful of go-to moves the mind uses, and once you know them, you'll spot them instantly. 1. Justification. It's not that serious. The action gets shrunk down until it feels harmless. 2. Blame shifting. They caused it. Responsibility gets handed off like a hot plate pass to someone else's hands. 3. Minimization. No one really got hurt. The damage gets quietly edited out of the story. 4. Comparison. At least I didn't go that far. Suddenly the bar for okay behavior is whoever behaved worse. 5. Dehumanization. They don't matter anyway. This one's the most dangerous because once someone stops mattering in your head, guilt has nowhere to attach. None of these require someone to be evil. They just require someone to be uncomfortable and unwilling to sit with that discomfort. Here's the part most people miss. Moral diversion doesn't just protect you, it slowly costs you. Every time you edit the truth instead of facing it, the line between right and wrong gets a little blurrier. Empathy dulls, almost like a callus. What used to bother you stops bothering you. And because growth requires an honest starting point, someone who keeps diverting never actually gets the chance to improve. They just get better at explaining why they don't need to. The strangest part, over time, people don't just excuse the behavior. They start to believe they were right all along. The identity shifts to match the excuse. Zoom out, and this isn't just a personal habit. It's something that shapes entire groups. When enough people justify the same kind of harmful behavior, it stops looking like a red flag and starts looking normal. Trust erodes because nobody's really taking responsibility for anything anymore. Conflicts turn into blame cycles instead of resolutions. And accountability, in families, workplaces, whole societies, gets harder to enforce because everyone's got a reason it wasn't really their fault. Underneath almost all of this is one thing: fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of consequences, fear of losing status, control, or the image people have of you. Moral diversion isn't really about the action at all. It's a fear management system. It just happens to wear the mask of reasoning. So what actually breaks the pattern? Not guilt, not shame, just a few honest habits. Notice when you're explaining instead of examining. Pause before you react and ask yourself one blunt question. Am I being truthful right now or comfortable? Let responsibility land on you without immediately building a defense around it. Try to look at situations as they are, not as you'd prefer them to be, and build the discipline to choose truth over comfort, not once, but repeatedly, because the mind will always look for the easier door. None of this makes you a perfect person. It just keeps the mirror clean. Moral diversion protects comfort, but it destroys clarity. And clarity, however uncomfortable, is the only real path to growth for a person or for a whole society. The next time you catch yourself explaining instead of admitting, pause. That pause is where change actually starts. If this made you think differently about how your own mind works, that's kind of the whole point of this channel. Subscribe to the Codex of Thoughts. We dig into the psychology behind the things we do without noticing. Till next time, take care and keep evolving.